24 has been a good year. It started out a very challenging year both for Tirlán and indeed for our farmers, with very difficult weather at the start of the year, but it progressed very favourably. We intervened early in the year with our farmers around March, April time. You'll recall this time last year it was very inclement weather. We were looking at milk possibly being back just about 1%, so a significant growth over the summer and the autumn period. That intervention on our part was very important in terms of supporting our farmers by way of a 30 million support package on feed and increased milk prices to help them during a very difficult period. But ultimately, it has turned out to be quite a good year with quite a strong performance for Tirlán. The market and indeed the market outlook is still quite positive. There's some uncertainty with respect to policy out of the US, but leaving that aside, demand is quite stable and quite good. I was probably have been articulating to our farmers that milk price is probably operating in the range 48 to 50 cents a litre, and we had to make a realignment in the last month to get our price back closer to where the market price is. But nevertheless, I see this year being a very positive year from a farming and from a milk price perspective. And just looking at the numbers yesterday, our weighted average milk price last year was, including constituents and including VAT, was somewhere close to 52 cents a litre. This year the weighted average could be in the order of 10% ahead of that over the run of the year. Well, I think there's a lot to play out on the US tariffs yet. We have to wait and see how they ultimately land. Tariffs in a small open economy that exports internationally are never a good thing. We are very much supporters of free trade. The industry and indeed ourselves are planning insofar as we can. Uncertainty is not a good thing for business because you're not quite sure what to plan against. But we have been through challenges before, be they Brexit or COVID or indeed the Ukrainian-Russian war, and we're well used to that kind of planning. But we would hope to see sense prevail and global trade to be allowed to continue. It's difficult to say yet because we don't know where the tariff debate is ultimately going to land, so it is difficult to say. I think overall we're going to have a good year regardless because the market demand is positive, and I would say also probably helping that supply hasn't picked up across the world in the way that might have been envisaged it would. It's been more difficult supply in parts of Europe than folk might have envisaged earlier in the year, and that's helping create that demand-supply tension, which is always helpful as a supplier of product. So the great news is, and it's great for our farmers and it's great for our business, that milk volumes this year are going to be well up on last year, probably something in the order of 5%. Now, that shouldn't be market impactful because essentially you're just catching up on the 2 years previous where milk fell. So that's a really good place, but it also means that our processing assets right across the industry and indeed in Tirlán will be fully occupied. All of our assets, all of our plants now are working at peak capacity. That's fantastic. There might have been some fears in some quarters last year that the assets wouldn't be needed or wouldn't be utilised. That's certainly not turning out to be the case. It does mean that over that peak number of weeks that we're dealing with, that we will be talking to our farmers about being a little more patient in terms of the arrival time for the trucks and the dispatch time for the trucks out of our plants. But our team are working very hard to ensure that we operate to our most efficient and best capability. So I expect you'll have a few weeks of challenge and then we'll get back to normal service in terms of milk collections. So we've been very fortunate in Tirlán. Since milk quotas were taken away in 2015, we've been very fortunate to welcome 580 new suppliers. Last year we took on about 45. This year something in the mid-20s will come to us. Once they are able to meet our quality criteria and our milk's purchasing criteria, we're more than happy to welcome them. And in fact, we hope over the coming months to be working very closely and encouraging new folk to enter into farming because that's a key challenge for the industry, and we hope to play our part in that regard.